Welcome to Turn Right Machine Works. My name is Keith. Welcome to Turn Right Machine Works. My name is Keith. You know, late yesterday, guy comes walking into the shop like this. And I go, well, what'd you break it again? And well, and blah, 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 blah. Does that look familiar? Well, now, does that look familiar? All right. You know, you always usually, you never hear back, and no news is good news. Well, even though I hate to see that somebody's driving technique caused a break again on the same object. The original one was broke because a drive shaft let go because of what everybody thought was age. But then the same driver was put back into the vehicle after this was working perfectly fine. Everybody was smiling and happy and everything else. And the driving techniques, when you get a 10-wheeler, not quite a jag load, but pretty good load, and you back it in there and you get into some soft dirt and soil, even though the guys have been running in and out of there and all the other equipment's been in and out of there and rolling back a septic truck and offloading the cement tanks and heavier gear, and you still get in there and you get a little stuck with your load of stone. Don't drop the clutch, okay? The weight, the wheels, everything else gotta go. Anyway, he snapped the drive shaft right off, and the drive shaft went around and smacked this thing. Alright, well, only because my welds held, I don't really feel like going and doing some body work. Somebody. Now, here's the neat thing is, you can perform welds and you can purposely go have them tested, but you don't always run into the capabilities of getting these free stupidity tests. All right, let's get in here and take a good close look at the damage we got to deal with, and then we're going to start getting this thing tore down, and we're going to get this thing turned around and get it back to them. There's a lot more work that's got to be done to get things straightened out, but this is not impossible. And also, this casting that was broke here, with these welds holding down here the way I did them, I have no second thoughts that I'll be able to get this thing back in order. Getting this thing in line so it stays smooth and everything else is the key thing. So let's get to it. Alright, let's go ahead and let's blow some of the dirt and a little Alright, dirt and the grease clumps that were around this area right here from getting smeared in. I mean, that wasn't on there before, so all that's filth that's underneath the truck right now. And of course, they were pulling this thing out in the dirt. Alright, so I'm going to grab the other camera and I'm going to get some nice still shots of this in different angles so you can actually see this metal frame twisted up. This ear bent once again, but yet right in there. In fact, we're going to be getting a real good close look at these and making sure that I don't have any cracks developing in there at all. But those are, it's gapped up here, it's stressed, all of that. But yet those two welds on there, it snapped off this shaft, bent in this retainer for the felt wiper. This frame is tweaked. This angle right here, I mean, it whacked this thing. This is normally straight down. There's where he heated it and bent it and straightened it the last time. Their mechanic played with that before, and the thing was right in there and it was working pisser, peachy keen, And you can tell that, you know, that's got to be straight in line. This is your adjustment here and here for your arm. All right, let's get this broke down. First, we're going to start off taking it off of the actual mount here. And we'll come back to straightening the mount when we get ready to put it on the mount and we got the cylinder all repaired. So we're just going to undo this section here. We'll take a quick look at it here. Alright, well, this is the adjustment here. That one, we'll probably pull this all the way out so that we can get, this is bent up here. I'm going to wire wheel in here. It almost looks like a crack is in that area right there. We got a little bit of a curve here. You can see that it smacked and hit here and here, so this like rolled over that way. This area here has got to be bent and straightened. We'll kind of play with that in a little bit. We know what that is. Alright, now we got to go ahead and pull our cylinder apart. Now we don't have the nut and everything else retaining this, so that spring is going to be loaded in here when we go to pull this apart. And I think I'm going to go ahead and undo this end right here so I can get the seal and this ring out of the way. And if we do that, we can probably hold a pair of vice grips or something on the threads there so it'll hold the spring pressure, and then we can let it go at the same time. I just like to be able to pull these bolts off without any pressure on them. Alright, I'm going to put these in the we will have to straighten that out again. That's been adjusted. Alright, I'm going to go get vice grips to clamp onto that. Okay. Alright, now we're going to switch over to this socket. Back them off all even. A little bit of dirt on there. Seems like I did this before. Just recently I've done this. Just recently. Alright, pull this end cap off. Alright. So it looks good, greased up in there. Alright, now here's the arm. Okay, we have to straighten out those heads. Look how those tweak those things right on over. Alright. And that thing's pretty well bent. We're going to have to get the center of that pushed back down so it's square. Alright, and the cylinder tube, that still feels smooth. Alright, now we're going to hold down on this and we're going to undo the channel or the vice grips there. We'll get this thing slid off of here. Alright. We can put that in a vise and take that rod out of there. And I believe I have a piece of silicon bronze that I'm going to make that rod out of. And that'll be a good candidate to make that. Alright. Now, I'm going to get a rag here to wipe this off here, because this is the question that we're going to answer here shortly. Did these things in fact hold up 100%? Alright, you can see the aluminum is smashed down here and it's stretched there. Same thing here. And I get a couple close-up photos of that in there, but there's no ripping, no breaking. Nothing came loose. I'm going to wire wheel and clean in here. We got a little bit of dirt and stuff like that, but I think that's just a lap from the wall. I had that before. No cracks or nothing there. Let me get a pocket scale. Alright, we got a pocket scale here, and it did pull those ears right on down. You can see a little gap in there. Pretty amazing that a repair holds. And well, hey, who knows, this thing got smacked by a pretty good sized drive shaft. Alright, there's enough investigating on what we got going on here. I'm going to clean this up a little bit and we'll look at this as we go. I'm getting ready. I got to pull the other arm apart here. We'll get those pieces out of there. We'll get the rod out of that one. And it looks like we got to repair this, make a new rod, straighten out the main frame, and we're gonna add on a little bit of material on here at minimum, just to bring it back square and flat. We need to bring the support there for that. Alright, let's go ahead and pull these E-clips off of here and put those in the container here. Alright, there's the other part of that, which we'll get that cleaned up. These arms, well, we got a bushing that moved there. We're going to be playing a little bit. We may, hard to tell whether the arm is actually bent, but that bushing definitely is pushed to the side there. So they saw a little stress in there. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get a wrench on here. And hey, that's cool. We got that one. We got that one. And we got lucky there. Alright, that little block, we're going to put that in there for now. And we're going to be able to put that in a vise there and go ahead and unscrew that. And the same with this. I don't know if I have enough. Oh yeah, I do. Alright. Oh, but I still have to unscrew that. I know that. So let's go ahead and we'll get the cup and that piece there. We'll wipe that out later. Alright, we got to unscrew this and unscrew that, and then we got that rod to make there as well. Alright, for right now, we're going to go ahead. This is we had acetone in here. Down the bottom, you can see a little bit of grit and dirt and stuff like that that's down in there. And we wiped pretty much the excess off of here, maybe a little bit more there. And we're going to drop these two parts in here because we want that acetone to get in there and dissolve any of the rust and grease and all that stuff in there. And it's kind of a container and lets you put it on here. And of course, with acetone, you want to make sure it doesn't get on your lens of your brand new guesstimators you got from MSC there. I just opened these up this morning, and the lenses it's got scratches on it. There's minute scratching all on the back here and everything else, just like it was already used. The outside only had a label on it addressed to me, so if they were used either before they came from China and then put in a box, or MSC opened them up and used them at the shop and then put them back in there and then sent them to me. So I can't understand why there's, it doesn't matter. They go to 0 and they are just for guessing. You want to get serious about measurements, I would not use dial calipers. And I have digital as well. Just old school. I like to see that dial going around. I'm just quicker on the draw with a dial, and I like to progressively watch it. It's just me. Alright, we cut off a length of the silicone bronze, and that's why I had these over here. Okay, I was going to get rid of, move them over there, because acetone will melt your lens. That's what I was getting at anyway. Alright, the guesstimeter says 5/16. Same thing here, within a thousandth of each other. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put some threads on each end of that, and that'll be pretty well done. And by that time this will have soaked, and we'll give it a little rattle. And we'll get those cleaned up and get these prepped for welding, and then we're going to go in there and do some welding on these with the heliarc there. And we're going to be repairing that broke off section, but we're also going to be repairing the flats that were created by this piece that's normally supposed to be a 90 degrees. Pulled it over the edge there and smashed in the aluminum a little bit, but it did not pull. Actually, the steel is slightly deformed there as well. That was a good whack. Alright, this is as close to a 6 jaws we get. Alright, we're going to be putting our little 5/16 material in here, and we're holding this 3 jaw because this one here won't go close down any more than a 1/2 inch. And so we're able to hold this, and we have the insert holder, and it's very comfortable to thread with this machine, and we'll be able to go ahead and knock a thread on there real quick. Alright, now I know you're going to ask yourself, hey, how close does this actually turn? Alright, this is a regular wiggler, so it's a pretty good smooth true surface, and I'm going to put it in here with the shank sitting out here, so we got a good solid 1/2 inch, nice clean diameter there. And we're going to go ahead and slap an indicator. Alright, we're going to go ahead and, it doesn't matter, we haven't spun this here. Alright, it goes from 0, -2, and about a +1/2. So about 2.5 thousandths I'm actually running true, or 2.5 thousandths I'm running out on my material here. But that's going to be close enough to go ahead and throw a 5/16 National Course thread on that. And we're going to have some tool deflection and some other things there. I do not recommend this to be a regular practice. It's how I can get it done real fast, and I know that I'm going to be quick on getting that thread on there, and I'm going to be doing a sufficient job for my project that I got going on here. Alright, so let's go ahead, and we're going to we have this marked off how long the threads are going to be, and we want to choke in as close as we possibly can, and we know we can get about right there. We're going to take a couple spring cuts. We're not going to bother center drilling and supporting this out on the end here. And we're just setting our lathe for the 5/16 18, and we want C and B, and I think we're right in. All right, we've went ahead and we tried our nuts on here, and they're just barely not wanting to go on there. This sticks out quite a bit, but the silicone bronze is pretty tough. I mean, I could put a center drill in here, and I'm working like spring cuts, but we're just like a 1/2 thousandths or so just away from it. So we're going to come back in here, and we're at 32 a side, which is getting real close to the actual size. It's supposed to be like 72 or something like that, so that would be like 30, 36 and a half, 37 thousandths off the per side. And we're just kind of like sneaking up on it. We want a good fit on it. Spring cut. This is a regular nut out of our file, our supply there. Alright, we're going to go ahead and give it a couple more thousandths. Alright, and a spring cut. And there's a regular nut, almost wants to go on there. You know, we probably, if we wanted to, we could run a die nut down on there too. That's about halfway on there too. We're within a dowel or two from getting there. And this cut and a spring cut, and I think we'll have her. Standard nut. One of the nuts we're going to be using, it's like a half or a jam nut. Good. Our other nut. Alright, that's good. And the last thing is our cylinder mount, or piston mount. And that screws on good too. I wouldn't want to make it any looser. We know we have a little bit tighter at the front here than we do down in there, just the way we spun those nuts on just now. Alright, we're going to endo this thing and put a thread on the other side. Alright, we got this to screw on here now, and we test fit good. Alright, so we've got this rod here. This is all taken care of now. This is pretty firm, good threads. Alright, we've got that rod fixed now. We assembled it into the same length, pretty much where we figured that nut was sitting on that thread right there. And that position. Of course, that could be adjusted in the field, and that is a fully adjustable thread there. And this one right here goes ahead and this locks down that sandwich of the cup. Alright, now that we got that taken care of, we're going to go ahead, pull these pieces out, and start prepping these for the welding. Alright, we got to do some grinding and prepping on here. And yeah, it really, I mean, that did stress it out, but there is absolutely no breaks or cracks across there. And that break is pretty clean. We'll be able to locate that pretty good. On ones that are like this, I like to go ahead and get it clamped up and hold it in a clamp position and rotary burr in on the side and get a tack, and then work our way and rotary burr fill. We keep this thing pretty close in line. It took a good hit right there. Alright, we came over here to the hydraulic press and we got our, I'm going to rotate this around. So we're using our jig that we made once before, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to get these two ears back up into pressure there, and we got a waster piece of aluminum, and we're going to set that up here, and we're going to apply pressure to close in that gap and reshape that section there before we go welding the repair section there. And we may be adding some weld and stuff up here, but we want to go ahead and see if we can create that straight line again, so we may not have to mess with that bottom side again. Alright, looks like we flattened that back down. And I don't see any cracks or anything else opened up there. Now these are still elongated in the pull direction, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to try squeezing the material down in that way. And then hopefully we can just add a little dab here and here where it rolled that fork section over here, and get a flat top back on there, and we can probably just hand work and hand file this, get this section back in here. I don't think we're going to have to set it back up in the machine, and we'll be able to run the drill through our holes this way with a pistol drill for any material that we have rolled over on the front here. Alright, we came over here to the Bridgeport vise, and we're gonna just try to get the butt in over here, and we're gonna get this section right in here. We're gonna try to just squeeze some of that back in. You can see where that pressure is applied right there. Somewhat straightened out the hole. Just a little bit. You know, we're not going to get a miracle here. We're just going to get some of that material pushed back. Alright, I think that's about as good as we're going to get there. Alright, we're going to go do a little sand here and prep, and we're going to go get that welded on there. Alright, I went ahead, and because it was hit right in this area, there was a little mushroomed area, so I went ahead and I ground off just on this one side. I got enough of the natural grain that I can locate this thing exactly where it was. And I'm going to be putting my finger down on it, holding it, and then I'm going to put a couple tacks there. Me getting in here and holding this and everything is going to kind of make it tight for you to see. But I'm not even going to get any rod. I'm just going to do a couple quick blasts. And I just barely got that to hold on there. Now I'm going to put a little tack on this side here. Alright, we're going to make sure that we got that rock back. We got a little wire brush cleanup to do over here. That's looking pretty good. We just barely blasted enough in there. We're going to clean that now. We got good tack going on over here. We're going to work that around here, and then we're going to open this side up here so we can get some good welding on there. So we got a lucky fusion there. We got a pretty good tack working there.